I don't think you're as nice as you think you are. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Outside the Fox, where we explore what's happening online and why it matters. I'm Kim Horcher.
And I'm Steve Flavin, and we're back!
We're here!
After a long hiatus. Well, not that long, but we're back. And it's Thanksgiving, literally tomorrow, or at least by the time this episode airs. And we are talking about the corners of the internet that we are most thankful for. It's a topic that we're fans of at Mozilla because we're all about a free and open web, and we're, like a lot of people, nostalgic for, how it felt like in the OG internet of, finding your community and your niche.
Yeah, I mean, that's ostensibly what a lot of the internet was sold on, or at least social media, but I think it's become increasingly not that. So maybe we should focus on being thankful for the things that we do feel good about still.
Yeah.
I know last year we did technology, but let's focus on our internet corners that are our favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll kick it over to you. Like, what are some of your favorite corners?
Well, mine are actually sub corners of larger, planes of the internet. And the first one would be Discord. So Discord is where you can start fan communities or join official verified communities from different places. And it's not just for video games, it's for entertainment, streaming, technology, education. There's all kinds of things. I learned how to do some internet marketing on Discord.
Okay.
Yeah, there's so many different communities that you can find, and not all of them are great, but that's true of everything. But there are some true gems. I have been enjoying right now I'm playing The Outer Worlds 2, which is a video game from Obsidian, who they made Fallout New Vegas, which is the best Fallout, in my opinion. I am going on tangents a lot, but I think it's been really helpful to find other fans who are wanting to celebrate the things that I'm interested in as well. Maybe they have more talent than I do and can do fan art. But also I'm learning different things about what I should check and look for, and maybe Easter eggs. And I like interacting with people in that way more so than maybe finding a guide, which will say step by step, okay, go down this corridor, then turn and open the door. I like engaging with other people in that way. And I'm going to be real. Most of my friends don't play or like the same things I do per se. So this is very helpful in that way. And then there's also communities that are, like I mentioned, verified and owned by a specific, let's say the publisher of a game.
Cool.
But again, it's not all games. So Fallout has their own world where they'll connect via Fallout, the shows on Prime Video, Fallout, the games. I guess the only current one is Fallout 76. You can get exclusive content for that, but not everyone likes that. But guess what? There's plenty of other Discords connected to games that you probably do like, and you might find some in-game content in there, or at least an in-game friend. But I tend to verge this way because, not to reveal too much about myself, but I met my first boyfriend in an MMO.
You mentioned that, yeah.
So I like engaging with other people who like the same stuff that I like anyone else. Mine just happens to be, in this instance, video games.
Yeah.
And then I wrote a paper about it in college. It's a whole thing. But another thing that I'm interested in would be more niche subreddits, not necessarily, the popular subreddits or the ones that are under news or are popular. Small things connected to the things that I like certain series, certain localities even. Like I'm on my, not just Los Angeles, but my smaller neighborhood within Los Angeles. And it has helped me a lot, especially since I don't want to be on Nextdoor at all. It's
awkward.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. I don't think the vibes are good.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, not all of your friends like what you like. I find that also with with TV shows that I watch or even, movies that I watch where I'll be, I'll watch the season finale of like such and such, and it's like I have so much to say, but nobody that I know has been watching this, and so I find myself on Reddit, and like finding some like-minded people. It's like really interesting to read the discussion, even if I don't necessarily participate in it. It's just like heartening to know, like, oh, they're thinking what I am, and like, oh, that's an interesting take. Like, yeah, actually, so in the time that we were waiting for Outside the Fox to come back on the air, my colleague Hannah and I started a new podcast called Firefox Hot Takes.
I'll try not to be jealous.
Well, we're kind of alternating between the two now, but we had an episode, I believe it was our Halloween episode. We were talking about like spooky things that we like to do on the internet, and I brought up the subreddit No Sleep and like creepypastas.
I know what that is.
Yes, it's still cool. I feel like about 10 years ago, it sort of crested in popularity, and it's like all the TV shows that were based on like Slender Man and like all of that, and so it's kind of like, but now that it's kind of waned a little bit in terms of the popularity, I'm still astonished at how creative it is, and just like the stories that are still there, and it's sort of like it's almost like open source scary stories. It's like you're around the campfire. It's like the digital version of being around the campfire, and telling scary stories.
It's kind of better with waned popularity.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes I won't, for certain video games, I'll go to maybe not the main one, but a side one. Like, for instance, what's top of mind, it's not current, but for Cyberpunk 2077, I went to low sodium Cyberpunk 2077, so they would be less salty.
Okay, all right.
There's a few in the Batman fandom that are like that too.
Low sodium. I like it.
Yes.
I like it. So what are, in terms of just distilling some of the common threads behind your corners that you mentioned, you talked a little bit about what appeals to you. I think, the less popular ones, is kind of a feature, not a bug. What are some other commonalities that you've noticed?
I think I want people who are really engaged, hyper engaged on the topic, and who do things outside of the internet per se, even though the things I like are widely available on the internet, which is entertainment and video games. But connecting somewhere else and maybe not scrolling all day and wondering why you're sad is something I try to stay away from, because I'm prone to that.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's actually, I mean, this is a good way to segue into the ones that I want to talk about, which are both communities that encourage an IRL activity where you have to go off of the internet and do something in the real world and then come back and talk about it or share it. We've talked about this before on previous podcasts, but I'm a big fan of the Letterboxd community and platform.
Yes, but you won't review things. You just give stars.
Well, I do review things, but I don't do star ratings.
Oh, you do the opposite of what I said. My bad.
I tend to. It's only if I have positive things to say. Every once in a while, if I have like a negative hot take, I will post it if I feel justified, like righteous in the like this is so egregiously bad that I just have to speak up of just like something that's problematic or something that just offends me in a really visceral way. But ultimately I like to just talk about things that I love and want to gush about them. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a cheerleader.
You and I are different in that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think it's because you are a filmmaker as well, and I engage more in things from an analytical, critical fan point of view. So I'm comfortable being a little mean.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, honestly, like we're we both work in facets of the entertainment and content industries, right? I feel like there's a non-zero chance that someone that I know is involved in a production. So it's like, what are they going to think if I'm working with them and I gave their film 2 stars or something? It's like I feel like I don't want to quantify it. Even films that I like might have objectively given 2 stars to, usually if I can pull something out that I like, oh, I love the production design or the cinematography, or it's like the score. Oftentimes I'll watch movies, especially horror movies, where I love the score. The film is trash, but like the score slaps. I might shout that out.
You might rate that exactly.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think you're as nice as you think you are.
Well, I mean, I actually rarely, it's only if I have something to say about something, where it's like, even if I did like something, I don't always have something that I want to share about it. It was kind of like, oh, it was entertaining, but like I don't really have like I don't feel like going on a monologue about like what I liked about it. It's just I watched a thing. So you never really know. It's not like you can scroll my diary and see like, oh, he didn't review that. He must have hated it. Like that's not necessarily true, but it might be.
I feel comfortable with people knowing I hated something.
I mean, that's fair. Like don't say something you wouldn't say to someone's face. I think is the
If it's like constructive criticism, I think it's okay. I would never write, you are dumb and
don't
you
be
should feel
mean.
bad.
Yeah. I try and make that a philosophy for sure. But circling back to the IRL aspect, I mean, certainly, movies are available online. You could stream them. You can second screen them, as we've talked about, if you're watching them at home. But a lot of I find that the community, they like to be, kind of reviewing things that are trending, that are out in theaters. And so, oftentimes the most popular films are the ones that are currently, screening somewhere, which encourages, like, you should not have your phone out in the theater. You need to get out of the house.
I think people forgot how to be in movie theaters.
That's why I love Alamo Drafthouse, is they have the strict no talking policy, no cell phone policy. I love that. I don't know. I've heard some negative feedback where they're like, they have no chill. But you know what? I'm all about no chill when it comes to watching a movie in a theater.
I do not want to see a single cell phone screen while I'm watching a movie.
100%.
I mean, I do have problems second screening at home, but never would I do it in a movie theater.
Yeah, 100%. We've talked about this before too. I feel like Letterboxd, now that it's sort of... I mean, I wouldn't say it's super mainstream, but it's definitely more popular than it was a few years ago. And their social media, like their Instagram page, is like pretty great, I think. I love their red carpet interviews. The whole thing, when you're setting up a Letterboxd account, they encourage you to highlight your 4 favorite movies at the top of your profile. And so what's kind of cool is that the community, they have different interpretations of what those 4 movies are. So it could be literally your 4 favorite movies of all time, which is kind of daunting to pick, I think.
It's so hard.
It's hard, especially if you've seen so many movies, like, a lot of like hardcore cinephiles, we've seen literally thousands of movies. So it's like hard to pick 4. And oftentimes when they're interviewing like celebs on the red carpet, they're like, what are your 4 favorite movies? It's like deer in the headlights. They're like, and so they just like rattle off the first 4 that come to mind. But usually they're like great films. And it's like, oh yeah, I see you. It's like, it objectively might not be like literally their 4 favorites if they had like more time to think about it. But there is something to be said about like what first comes to mind. Maybe those are your favorites if those are the ones that pop into your head.
Well, I think it's really nice to be able to find your people in a way where it's people who are connected to the same thing as you, because I think something that's happened with the internet and with platforms like TikTok is that we've all kind of melded together. Like it used to be where you can go to Spain and the teenagers would be wearing their own fashion. But now everyone dresses the same.
Yeah.
And everyone's
so
roughly 27 in how they dress, no matter what age they are. And I like being able to, I hope it's not nostalgically reach back and find, something more weird and tuned to what I like, more so than internet as a glob.
Yeah, no, 100%. Something else I'll say about Letterboxd is not algorithmic, which I love. Well, at least not the people that you follow. It'll show you chronologically, like the movies that they've seen, which is how I interact with it usually. I think that if you go into the reviews, they're ranked by popularity, like the number of likes, or you can manually rank them based on like how recently they were posted. But, I only follow like maybe a couple dozen people at most, that are mostly people that I know in real life. Every once in a while, I'll follow someone who is just like really witty and I just like their POV, and it's like, oh, they like the same movies that I like. And it is cool to like make an internet friend that way. But for the most part, it's like, I just want to keep up with what my friends are watching. And, oftentimes if they're, on that app, they're really into movies and I trust their taste. And sometimes like we'll have a different take on a movie, but for the most part, it's like, oh, I want to be in the conversation. Even movies that I might not have been super stoked to see, if I see that a number of people that I know have been watching it and reviewing it highly, that might make me more inclined out of peer pressure to go see it and like weigh in with my take.
Yeah, I follow you in Letterboxd, and I always think you're seeing things that I've never heard of before.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
maybe that does help with discovery.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And especially because I love horror, and I follow some people that are really into like really niche, like B-movie horror. And like stuff will pop up that is just like, from the 80s or the 70s, that is just like some grindhouse stuff that I'm just like, where did they dig that up? And then I'll look it up, and sometimes it's like it's a trashterpiece, but it's also delightful in a way. So it's not all about finding like the hidden masterpieces. Sometimes it's fun just to like wallow in some trash.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, I don't think I have as refined taste as you, so I will watch some pure garbage, or like my what is it called when you're a little ashamed of it?
It's a guilty pleasure.
There you go. Guilty pleasures. Yeah, and I do appreciate that, if it's because we're kind of followed by algorithms no matter where we go on social media. So it is kind of nice to find a way that is less guided and driven by that.
Yeah. I mean, it has a way, to your point, of flattening everything, and kind of distilling things into the most popular or like most likely to engage, which is why in a lot of algorithmic feeds, a lot of like rage bait, tends to proliferate.
Oh, have you been on Threads? It's all rage bait.
Circling back again to Letterboxd, and it's not to say that it's a perfect platform. I mean, especially as it gets more popular, I've noticed some toxicity seeping in. But I think because they have subscription tiers, I think that's partly what helps keep it, like the ad proliferation kind of at bay. It's like it's sustainable for them, where they don't have to like clutter everything with ads.
If Meta started offering subscriptions, would you be on board with that? Because I think
not anymore. Not at this point.
Absolutely not.
I
wouldn't.
I would be shocked. I mean, this is speculation. Like I don't see a scenario in which they would give you an ad-free version, just because that's such a core part of their business now.
You're the business.
Right,
Your
exactly.
data is the business, period.
Yeah, 100%. Well, segueing from that, I don't know if there's any way to segue from that. I just want to talk about something else, which is my other corner of the internet that I loved, which is Lomography. It's a photography community. It started in the early to mid 90s, where a group of students were in Prague, and they found this cute little camera in a gift shop called the Lomo camera, that's very inexpensive. It's basically like a tourist camera. And what they found is that the cheap components actually lent itself to a more interesting kind of psychedelic, kind of unexpected analog images, that the lens and the flaws in the lens and even the light leaks, created unexpected art.
This is aesthetic before it was aesthetic.
Exactly. So like everything, like OG Instagram with the filters, is like has its roots in Lomography, basically, where it's kind of this what we associate with vintage, but at the time was just like that's that's what cheap cameras looked like.
So this community went back to the mid 90s.
Yeah, evidently, and I think it escalated in popularity during the transition to digital photography. Is kind of like a countercultural movement, basically. There's a reason why digital photography has stuck, and that's because it's definitely more convenient. I for sure have like a bunch of rolls of film that I haven't gotten developed because it's a step that you have to take that, it used to be fairly regular where you could go to like any drugstore and like drop off your film and, in 1 hour you get photos. Now it's like you have to find like a photo lab, or what I do, I mail it into a service that I regularly go to that has they'll scan the negatives. So I don't get prints usually. I'll just get the high quality scans and then I'll post those. Or not. I mean, I actually have like a whole album on my camera roll that is just, if I happen to be in person and like, we're scrolling through some photos, but I've never posted them anywhere.
It's rare for something that started so long ago to still exist. I mean, the only thing I could think of is like World of Warcraft. I feel like I've just seen a cave painting.
But the common thread, just to bring it back, I keep going off topic, Letterboxd, Lomography, in some cases, some of your examples encourages some kind of an offline activity.
Sure.
Even video gaming, which is like, I mean, that can be online, but you're dedicating, your attention to it. It's like you're kind of
it is pretty
focused
siloed,
on something. Yeah.
If you're playing an online multiplayer game.
But with photography in particular, especially with analog photography, you really do have to leave the house. Or, I mean, I suppose you could like take photos inside the house, but you have to step away from your device, and so there's something kind of beautiful about that, especially when you're interacting with the world or you're looking through the lens of, like capturing moments. It encourages you to get out and do things and see things, which, I'm all about that. Well, on that note, that is all the time we have for this episode, but we really want to hear from you. What are your favorite corners of the internet? Let us know in the comments.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and be sure to download Firefox because it's the best. We'll see you next time, and
Happy Thanksgiving!